your government gets to use your tax money to the ends of the ocean, the bottomless pit that is your tax dollar, against you to take your own rights away. Like, think about that.
Welcome back to Whiskey and Windage, the 2A podcast for the people, by the people. I'm your host, Mike, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Matt and Adam. Boys, how are we doing tonight?
Yo, I'm so freaking good. Got a trip coming up. It's been a beautiful weekend, beautiful weather all across the country. Really, really can't complain, my brother.
Hell yeah.
Awesome, man. I'm excited. We have Mike Mills from Tactical Considerations coming on today, and I'm super excited. Super excited.
Yeah, well, before we get into Mike, he's just about to jump in the studio, so we're just giving it just a second for him to get everything ready. Man, let's talk about how the week's gone, man. Like, how's this week been for you boys? I just got back from vacation, got to recharge the batteries, got the ocean, got the tropical drinks, did my whole little island vibe. So I'm good, man. What about you boys?
Dude, I'm getting ready to go to Canada for about 10 days. That's going to be new to me. I've never left the country.
Their heads come apart when they talk.
Yeah, their heads come apart when they. Hey, Terrence, yes, fella. So I'm a little nervous. Like I've never left the country, and to go to another country where firearms are definitely not as welcome as they are here in Idaho. It's going to be strange walking around without a weapon. I'll feel pretty naked.
It'll be different though, man, because up there they like French fries, and that'll be common for you with potatoes, but they like gravy on them.
It's poutine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mess with poutine. That's probably the greatest thing Canada ever made outside of my wife.
That was good. That was good.
Good save.
She'll listen to this. She's half Canadian, so I got to give them some credit. But
we'll
be rocking with some
cool pizza.
Yeah.
Come on, Trailer Park Boys. That's pretty good too. Come on.
We love us some Trailer Park Boys. But anyway, excited about that trip. A little nervous, but I'm sure it's going to be great.
Back in the day, I liked some Crown Royal, but I've graduated since then.
Yeah.
That Uncle Pappy's now, right?
Hell yeah, man. Hey, Adam, you're back to being school teacher again, man. You got a new class in there, don't you?
The Greenhorns.
With 397 kids. My voice just came back today. It is what it is. I finally had a couple days off. It was 7 days straight, 12-hour days. One day was a 17-hour day, but that's what you do. It's paying your dues.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, man, it looks like Mike's loaded into the studio, and man, y'all ready to bring this dude in?
Let's go, dude.
Let's do it.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Today, I'll introduce our next guest here on Whiskey and Windage. We have Mike Mills from Tactical Considerations. Mike, welcome to the show.
What's going on, guys? How are y'all doing tonight?
Man.
Doing well, man. Doing well. How about yourself?
Good. Fresh off a 7-day vacation in Cabo San Lucas, man. I'm doing great.
Oh, nice.
Dude, yeah. I just came back I was out last week too, and so it's like, man, did you play yours right too, where it's like I got 11 days off straight because I took off the 4th of July that Friday and then all the next week. So it was like, dude, like 6 days, but I got 11 for it.
Yeah, it's the best.
Man, look at you guys on vacation.
Mexico, Florida, and I got to go to Canada next week.
Ugh.
I bet you that's cool though, man. It'd be chill right now.
It's going to be like 60 degrees. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here in the great state of Texas where it's always perfect weather. So not really, but, I'm excited, man. My next vacation is going to be in Knoxville, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. But
yeah.
Mike, since you you welcomed us with your presence here, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, most people know who you are, obviously, but introduce yourself.
Yeah, man. So, probably most people know me. Well, the only reason anybody knows me is because of my YouTube channel. So that tactical considerations thing, started that. I think it's almost 5 years ago now, man. It's kind of crazy. It's been that long.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that I made my first video 5 years ago, and if you go back and watch those, I look like the orange gorilla because I had no idea how to color grade or anything. Yeah, I've been on YouTube for about 5 years. That's where most people know me. Some military history. Did my time in the 2nd Ranger Battalion. Been in law enforcement for almost 17 and a half years now. So I'm a little less than, I'm 33 months out from retirement completely, and I'm gone. So I'm close
Nice.
to the end.
You going to try to hang
Um,
on and let them keep paying you, or are you out?
no, I'm done. I am out. I'm
Yeah.
33 months and I am out the door,
Come on, he
gone.
hasn't counted down to months already. Like it's like a mom keeping track of a baby's age. He knows
Yeah.
exactly. He knows exactly when he's leaving.
I am 3 pairs of boots out from being gone. This
Hell
set of
yeah.
boots lasts about a year.
Nice. I mean, obviously, retirement's great, and I could ask you what you're gonna do in retirement, but I have a guess you have a plan for retirement already.
Yeah, I have a couple. Um, one of the other things I did in life is I worked at Wells Fargo Financial for a while, and I've got a lot of friends in the finance, banking, and investment world. And I was smart enough to listen to people smarter than me when it came to money and finances throughout my entire life since high school. And I followed their plans, and surprise, surprise, it worked out pretty well. So I'll be able to live comfortably, and then I'll just I won't like quit working. I mean, I'll have to go do something else because I'll just be bored out of my mind. But I will definitely not be wearing a bulletproof vest in a desert anywhere in this world again anytime soon because I've pretty much been doing that since 1998. So
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Well, you're telling me that I know you have a pretty huge YouTube channel, and I've been told if you're a YouTuber, you're making millions of dollars on YouTube. You're telling me that you're not making millions of dollars on your YouTube channel?
no, it other like here's the weird thing about YouTube is like there are channels with like millions of subscribers that make way less than me, and then there are channels with way less subscribers that make way more than me. It really has to do with your demographic, how you're trying to make your money as a YouTube revenue, like ad revenue, the sponsorships, all those deals. Because just because you have a larger YouTube channel doesn't mean it's like really, really profitable. Because especially a channel like this, when you go out and you spend, $10,000 on a set of new dual light tubes, some Gen 3s, things get expensive,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I do okay. I can't lie and tell you I'm not making money on it because of the ad revenue, and then I have sponsorships and all that stuff. Um, and then I like to get the affiliate end of it. So if I do a review on something and you like that object and you go to my website and you click that link or whatever, there's a lot of paid reviews out there and stuff like that. I veer away from that because it's just once you go down that path, it can get kind of weird, and then companies have an expectation, and
Yeah, you don't want to be in their pocket.
yeah, and it's so you have like marketing companies that you can work with. It'll give you like the affiliate commission stuff, or some companies try to do it like per click. But the cool thing is about not being like tied to a company, like a marketing company. I do everything myself. Is that I don't have to say yes to anything. So if I don't like it, I don't do it. Like there's things I avoid like the plague because I know it's just going to be a negative thing, and I hate negativity, and I don't want to like surround myself with any more of it than I already am. So
I can feel that.
No, for sure. So like obviously like you're a police officer for a while. Like what made you like get into like I'm going to start a YouTube channel? Because like we have our podcast and there was like a talk, but like was it just something you did for fun as a hobby and it grew into like kind of like because it's a business now, or was it I want to be on YouTube doing this? Like how did that start?
uh, I wanted nothing to do with being on YouTube. It was like a dare slash bet. So somebody was watching a video, and I'm like, "What is this trash you are watching? Like that is absolute trash." And it's another special operations guy that's retired.
Ooh.
Um, it was just kind of like, well, I was looking at this, and I'm like, "Dude, come on, you know better than this, man." And it was like, "Well, hey, if you think you could do any better, I'm like, well, maybe I can." And that's pretty much what spawned it. I had like
That's
no, I,
awesome.
I have no artistic ability. I had no idea how to use a camera or film or videography or editing or take a photo. Like I am straight knuckle dragging rock ape, like nuts and bolts kind of guy. Uh, so it just kind of evolved, and then once it was like a huge challenge. So then of course I got like, even I got pissed off because I couldn't just do it, right? I
Yeah,
needed to
for sure.
learn, and I had to put in effort and all these things, right? So then it became like a self challenge, and then it just kind of snowballed. And then I made some friends in the industry, and once I made those friends, things really kind of took off.
I think it's kind of interesting when it comes to the YouTuber guy. Listening to you talk and you talking about how you didn't know how to color grade correctly, and you're learning that stuff, and you just can't go do this easy. And it's funny depending on when you got started in all of this because it almost seems like still to this day, Hickok 45 is using a VHS camcorder because it's like, hey, I'm in my yard. I'm just going to put it up here. It's never going to move. I'm going to talk. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to shoot. I'm going to turn back around and tell you what I think. And people love it. And he's paid well for it. But if you try to replicate that, aside from just saying how you're trying to do what this guy did, like it doesn't have the same effect. You gotta be different.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on how your audience was built, right? And there's been a curve where, well, there's two things that are true at the same time right now, right? The curve of we want to see better, we want to see cinematography, the whole Garantham kind of thing. And he wasn't the first to do that. There's several other people that were doing stuff like that prior. And there's some dudes out there that are doing stuff now that there's a smaller channel, I forget it, it's like Bargain Tactical something. And that dude's cinematography is that guy that has a crazy graphics and stuff. That dude is off the chain crazy. Like he must do that for a living. He's doing awesome stuff.
And he has the craziest guns too on every pic. You're like, where'd you get that? How'd you get that?
Yeah.
What is that?
I mean, seeing about him, he's not, it's crazy. You'd be surprised. We've talked to him. He does a lot with a little, but he does it really well.
Yes. Yeah. He is very artistic. He's everything that I'm not when it comes to artistic ability. And then guys like PSR, Print Shoot Repeat. And I got to meet that guy, and you know, it's funny because I was like, I don't watch YouTube gun content, right, at all, period, unless it's one of my boys. And I watch his videos, and I just absolutely die. The stuff he does, man.
Oh yeah.
Cracks me up. So yeah.
That's cool. So like, as far as like, 'cause we talked to other YouTubers and even ourselves, you know, we're still young. We consider ourselves, we are the D-listers in YouTube right now, but we look at our stuff that we did like almost a year ago now. We're like, oh my God, why did we
it's cringe.
Do you do that to your videos, Mike? Like, do you go back like 5 years ago and look at your first videos and like, or are you still proud of it? Because of what you've come from?
It's bad. Like anytime you go back in time, it's like the first time you decide to read the comment section. It's just bad. There's nothing redeemable about my old videos because, like I said, the two things can be true at the same time. It's like you talked about Hickok, and a lot of people are starting to go back to that raw, real thing. But now it's not like it was, 5, 6, 8, 9 years ago, because your iPhone, like people film movies without like movies, right? Oh, yeah. And now you don't have to go out and buy a $9,000 camera. Or two of them. I have friends that have Reds, $50,000, $60,000 cameras and lenses and stuff like that. And you don't per se need that if you're not a production studio anymore. So it's leveled the playing field for people to get into it. But at the same time, you have to like kind of capture an audience based on the quality you want to go with. Because if you do like scratchy garbage footage and then all of a sudden you upgrade to the latest and greatest and everything looks different, you shock your audience, and that something's weird. It's almost like overproduced.
Yes.
And you find that kind of where you upgrade your lighting, then you upgrade your sound, then you upgrade your camera. And as those little upgrades come, your audience will appreciate it and like it. Whereas if you do this massive, crazy, hire an editor, videographer all of a sudden, and it's so different that your audience like, hey, this is kind of weird, man, what's going on? Because they get used and want to see a certain thing. That's like the other channel that I do their content for, Iron Infidel. That's a totally different style of content. I have a camera guy for that channel. I have an editor. I show up, I gun monkey, I leave. Right? He sends product. That's it. Right? And then you have to figure out what demographic you're going after too, because a lot of channels out there, their demographics are kind of weird. Right? Like 1 million subscribers, but there's all these weird things. Maybe the comments don't look right, stuff like that. So you find out some channels' audience, there's, 50, 60, 70% underage and overseas. When you read the comments and stuff like that, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Or you see that there's just 50, 60, 70,000 watches and there's no comments and
a
couple likes. And then you're like, damn, who's liking this? And you look and you're like,
yeah,
this lady makes brand muffins in Germany. Like, oh, you bought this person. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, me and my wife just watched I think it was on Netflix or something. It was some special about, I think it was Instagram specifically, but like buying bots and things like that.
Yeah, it's bad.
Somebody told me about that a couple years ago, and I'm like, like, where do you even go to do that? That was my first question. Like, because
Uncle
I
Google.
didn't get it.
Now those companies just advertise on Instagram, like, hey, shoot us a DM. We'll give you 100,000 followers by tomorrow.
Here's the thing about like, so I know marketing people from every industry out there, and it's no disrespect or offense to any of my buddies out there in the marketing world that are listening to me because I'm friends with a great many of them. But like when I approach a company, say I want to work with a company, and I'm like, hey, I need this product, I need this rifle, whatever it is. I'm like, but here's what I can provide. So I can go into my affiliate stuff and I can show you sales reports.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I started, I would approach a company and say, hey, look, I did business with this company. And then, they sold, $100,000 worth of rifles in 6 months. No bullshit. I have the report. That's one specifically that I use because it was just an amazing, amazing rifle. And then these companies are like, oh, we never got that before. Well, what do you mean you've never had somebody approach you with like hard data before? Like I've owned multiple businesses in my life and that's like what you live on, right?
Yeah.
And then I come to find out none of these marketing guys in the industry, they weren't asking for people's demographics. They weren't asking for click-through rates. They weren't asking for anything, man. It was like, I'm like, hey, do you know like what the audience is for that person you're going to work with is? And I actually do some consulting work with companies now for this very reason, because a lot of times when you ask people, they'll, oh, I'm not going to send you that, or I can't send you that, or I don't have that, or whatever. It's like, no, the numbers are there. You may not want them seen, but they're there.
Exactly.
Because there are people that have dumped thousands of dollars in marketing and ads on channels and saw a big goose egg on the return. And I was like, well, did you ask for analytics or did you ask for what their demographic audience was? I mean, like me personally, I mean, I can't pull it up now because I'm on the phone with you guys, but I think I'm like 79 or 80% US based, 18 to 35. That's that like key demo, right? Those are people you want to capture. Because if we're all interested in something, right? Like I watch videos on cameras and things like that because that's what I need. That's the information I need. And I'm an idiot, whether I'm watching a DSLR video shooter or whether I'm watching a Peter McKinnon video, which I don't watch Peter McKinnon, but one of those guys that's very, very good, Gerald and Dunn, those dudes. And they're like, hey, that's the product I need. They've got their little Amazon link. I buy it from them. I'm like, you just helped me out so much by giving me that information. And that's kind of how the affiliate thing works. Now, granted, that can also be blown out of proportion where it's like, we all know those channels where everything is amazing. Like everything is just the best one ever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's things like I get excited about, like take Blackout Defense Rifles. Like you
love them.
Amazing, right? Like my boy Jonathan from Tactical Toolbox, who's never shot long range before. We flew out Adrian from Sidewinder Concepts, and he had Jonathan 2 hours into the class from a tripod with a 13 9-inch Blackout hitting 1,000 yards repeatedly.
Hell yeah!
Calling his own shots, calling his own like that. The rifle's just stupid. So when I talk about that, I get super excited, right? And people are like, oh, you're paid by this company. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not paid by that company to make videos or anything. Like I'm friends with them now.
Yeah, I'd like to be, but not.
I was just watching your video today on the Solus. Like I know Mike has a Solus. Like what's your you're loving that that build out right now, aren't you?
Yeah. So and I've done long range very, very minimal with friends in the past over the years, but I got deep into it when I went to Adrian's class because I specifically wanted to learn more about that because I'm tired of doing things right here face to face. I'm like, I want to, I don't want to get in a fight with you up here anymore. I want to be way back there. So I was like, I better learn some long range.
Smart.
Plus, just like hunting and I wanted to be able to take game at longer distances with more confidence, things like that. Because 6.5 PRC, damn near taking elk at 1,000 yards, right? So I went hard down that road, and all of a sudden I wound up with like 4 SPRs, 6 bolt guns. But that arrow, and I've got my buddy John, who was a sniper in 3rd Bat. He started a company with Rock McMillan, JJ Rock, which is now owned by Dylan Arrow.
Okay.
So I've got his last action on it, and that thing is amazing, right? And I got the Solus, and I was like, holy crap, this thing's really good. Like, how much is this thing? Because I didn't know. A buddy had organized it for my birthday. And for what that thing can do and how smooth the action on it is, how nice that is made. It's like a sore dick, man. You can't beat it. It's just good stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's a real.
Yes. No,
That's
dude.
a real.
Yeah, I compare them because I do a lot of custom bolt guns and I love them. And I use like
Mhm.
Defiance, I use Stiller. And right when the Solus came out,
Yeah.
My arrow salesman was like, man, you got to give us a shot. And I was like, dude, I don't know. I mean, I love Arrow. Arrow makes a good quality product. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
No real knocks against it. But I was like, man, y'all are dabbling in something you don't know. He said, man, just give one a shot. So I bought the action and I was pleasantly surprised how smooth that action is. Comparing them, it was like, oh man, like this is
Well, and
this
the
is
thing
kind of
is,
nice.
yeah. So you use an Impact or a Defiance or a bat, $3,000 action, right? And you compare that to the cost of a full Solus chassis rifle, which is like what, $2,200 an hour or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. You are not getting that level of rifle anywhere for that cost. Impact right now, they're months behind and 1,800 to $2,000 just for the action. No barrel,
Oof.
no chassis, nothing.
Definitely kind of an arrow guy.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy because
Hang for the buck.
when you buy your Defiance or you buy your Stiller or any of these other guys out there, I just don't want to say those guys, but when you buy them, it's like, okay, cool. I'll use a Stiller for example. You can buy their Predator action. It's like, all right, cool. You get the Predator, and how much is that? Okay, well, it's $12.99. All right, cool. Do you want the pick rail already on the top? Do you want the rail for the mount?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, throw that on there. They're like, all right, cool. It's an extra $115, and you're like, okay, cool. Do you want it? Do you want the bolt floated? Sure, do that. And you start adding all this stuff up, and like you said, next thing you know, you're at 2 Gs just on the action. And I ordered that Solus. Everything came like it was, and I was like,
Yeah, no, they did a really good job on that, and it's one of those things, and I didn't understand it at the time, but I think it was John from Coda Boy 32. We were joking around one time, and he's no joke with long range stuff. And he told me one time, he's like, "Man, if you can't be at 1,000 yard inside 6 rounds, you don't know what you're doing." And I'm like, "What?" And it didn't make sense to me at the time, but now, like, I'll print a group, I'll shoot one round, make an adjustment, shoot a couple more rounds, make an adjustment, and I go straight for 1,000. And I'm truing for BC now. It's like I don't do velocity at nothing. I zero and I start hitting a target way out there and I true the BC and you're just dead on, man. Like, but people get angry about how you do your dope with long range stuff.
oh God,
I
yeah.
Yeah, they lose their minds. I did that budget build where I took like literally built this thing out of a Foxtrot mic lower and most of it was parts that came in a tack pack, right? Just to show people like, look, if you buy a decent barrel and a decent bolt, a 16-inch gas gun, you can get accuracy. And I used a 16-inch Roscoe Greenline barrel, and I printed a quarter MOA group. And Adrian was there with me recording, and I'm shooting. He's like, "Stop! Don't shoot again." I'm like, "Something wrong? I get a squib? You know what? Did you notice something I didn't?" He's like, "No, no, no, no. Wait till you see the target. Do not shoot again. Let's just go to 1,000." And
Nice.
I posted the photo, and there was dozens of comments. I don't trust anything less than a 10-round group. And I'm like, well, you want to blow through a steak dinner, zero in your rifle? Go ahead, bro. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going straight to 1,000, and I'm going to true BC or whatever distance I decide to true that at, and I'm done because I don't need to print. I mean, a piece of paper. I just need to get that 18-inch hit on that piece of steel, right? That's what I'm doing with it. So, I mean, could I clean things up a little bit? Yeah, but I'm trying to get a poke on an 18-inch target, and I know
Man.
if I do a certain thing, yeah,
Man, size target.
I'm looking for minute of asshole at 1,000 yards, right?
Minute of asshole.
That's kind of what I do when I go out and I start my zero on a long distance. I kind of do things a little different than most people, but it's because I don't know. It's kind of how I was taught growing up. Sight in at 100. The moment you're on paper, whatever your furthest known distance that you're going to shoot at, once you're on paper, move over to a big target at that known distance and then a small target. So it's like now if I'm shooting at 1,000, I'm shooting on big paper. I can zero in like you said, and then once that's done, I can move over just to the right or the left, and there's the small target, and it's now I can just lights out all day. And it sounds like you kind of are doing that. You actually save a lot of ammo that way. Like you save some money.
You save a ton of it and time.
and you get this. People are going to argue in the comments, and that's cool. I don't care.
Actually, comment. Tell us
yeah,
how we're
we're
wrong.
cooler than you.
Please argue down below.
Yeah.
It's just as effective as a 10-round group. I mean, I think personally.
Well, and that's what AMU is doing now, is my understanding, because that's where I got that from, was a guy with first group who had been doing stuff with AMU and was like, no, you're wasting time and ammo, bro. Do it this way. And I'm like, who am I to question that dude, right?
You run a 10-round group, unless you want to sit there for 15 minutes between shots and let your barrel cool, what you're going to do is you're going to shoot at a warm barrel. And then when you go back and you get everything how you want it, and you're going to go back tomorrow, and even if all the conditions are the same, you're going to go to a cold barrel, you're going to pull the trigger, and it's not going to be where you thought it was.
And that's when you start figuring out that barrel profiles matter.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that. But that's like the same thing as like seasoning or breaking in the barrel.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I'm talking King of 2 Miles guys that were like, yeah, we don't do that. We shoot the gun when it opens up. That means we need to clean it. I'm all, okay.
Exactly.
And then other guys swear by it. And I've done it both ways. Like I took a Mossberg Patriot LR tactical, the one with the MDT stock on it.
Uh-huh.
And I did this. I hate to say the number of rounds because someone's going to check me on that video, but I want to say it was inside of 6 rounds. I zero standing from a tripod, 1,000 yards, and that was a 6.5 PRC. So when it hits that plate at 1,000, it crushes your soul. It makes so much noise through that valley, dude.
I'm from the South. We don't. The only thing we season are our skillets. Like we don't season barrels, just frying pans, man. That's it.
I love that.
So, hey, Mike, I think everybody is pretty familiar with your service in the military, your service as a police officer. But how did your 2A journey start? Like, did you come up in a household that was hunting and shooting? Like, what's the beginning?
Probably 4 years old with a BB gun, man.
Hell
There's
yeah.
always guns in the house, and they weren't in a safe. They were in a gun cabinet. So there was a high level of responsibility there from a young age. We didn't really, my father always wanted to do more hunting and stuff like that, but never got the chance. So both my parents worked. At one point we were middle class, but then at one point we were losing our home and there was no Christmases and things like that. So had a little money once, then didn't have some money, and then kind of did okay. Kind of that typical middle class, and then maybe you're not middle class anymore, and then tax season comes. But we always had outdoor stuff. We were always fishing. We were always camping at the lake, doing stuff like that, because we couldn't take big vacations. So for us going out into the woods up in the canyon lakes up here in North Arizona was what we were all about. And we were always shooting stuff, whether it was bows or pellet rifles, the old Benjamin pumps, and you're always shooting your buddies, no more than 3 pumps, right? And you shoot your buddy.
Yeah.
That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, as I got older, I was allowed to shoot regular guns. I think the first actual real gun I shot, I want to say I was around 6 or 7, and it was a chrome 32 ACP with pearl handles. It was my grandmother's. We were on a camping trip.
Oh, hell yeah, that's good as hell.
Such a piece of shit. I don't even know what
Like
brand
Jennings
it was,
or something.
Yeah, well, and that's it, probably, but that's also the gun that my grandfather smoked a dude with.
Okay,
he was
now it's kind of cool. Okay.
Yeah, I'm almost positive it was that one. So he was a truck driver, and he got robbed, and he took a round up through. I was really young. I was like super young. He took a round up through his arm. I'm pretty sure he lit the dude. I might have to double check some of that. I mean, I think I was about 4 when this happened, but I'm pretty sure that was the gun. But so it was just always, we had them, and then growing up, you're 80s, you're not 80s, but 90s kid, so you're watching all the action movies, so you want to go do all that stuff. So you go do some of that in the military. And, you're always about guns, but we were always a very freedom-based family too. So it was like, your First Amendment, Second Amendment, and then everything else kind of follows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more I was in the military and the more I met people from other countries and got to go to other countries, I very quickly realized that there is not a lot of freedoms in most other places in this world. And then when I got out and did the private sector thing, I always had a gun. I always had a concealed carry license because you had to have one back then. I always took my friends out shooting, of course, took your girlfriends out shooting, and then became a cop, and then you live in this weird world as a cop, right? Because there's gun laws, and me, I'm kind of like whatever, it's a victimless crime. But then you got other dudes, you got dudes that are
Whatever.
straight up anti-gun. I mean,
Yeah.
straight up anti-gun, and 99.9% of us like shun those guys. We're like, what are you talking about? Get out of here with that trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally think that they are the only one that should be able to own guns and standard capacity mags and rifles. I'm like, dude, you're crazy, bro. Like, you need to go do something else. Go live in the communist state of wherever.
Yeah.
Because in Arizona, it's very different. Now, in other states, very, very different than here.
Yes.
You get pulled over here in Arizona and you're not carrying a gun in the car. We're like,
Yeah.
do
It's
you
weird.
need one? I got a spare in the truck. But we've had guys come to the agency I work at from New York, California. We're like, hey man, you got to understand this. It's not like that out here. Not in Arizona.
Wild
I've
Wild
heard,
West.
yeah. Well, I've heard like numbers between seven and anywhere from 7 to 9 out of 10 cars going to have a gun in it in Arizona.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because most people carry, and we're constitutional carry now, as
Yeah.
we should be, right? Because I don't know about you, but I believe in a well-armed populace. Because you rob a bank out here, you liable to get lit up by a couple of dudes out in a parking lot before a cop's ever even going to get the phone call.
Grandma's gonna
Um,
light you up.
So
Yeah.
I lived in Arizona. I lived in Chandler for about 3 years. And I can tell you out there, traffic, no one road rages because everyone knows, like, there's no you don't road rage because everyone knows everyone's carrying. It's like an honest,
Yeah.
like, nah, I'm not going to road rage out here. Like, everyone's carrying on Arizona, 100%.
What part of Chandler did you live in?
I lived in right off of Gilbert and Alma School.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I work. That's where the department I work for. So.
You could probably look up his record. He's probably got one. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that was about 10 years ago. That was before the Army. So that was before I joined the Army. That was over like 11, 12 years ago.
Oh, you were a shit back
Oh,
then,
okay.
weren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
He had to get a lot of waivers to get in.
I did it. Yep.
You had to
Now,
get somebody to sign some papers.
so Mike, I have to
Yeah.
ask because I am a military guy, and when you joined the Army, did you do a RASP, right to Ranger, or were you like active duty, went to Ranger, or how did you get to regiment?
Yeah, so I went in as just a 11X man.
Okay.
So I was actually slotted to go be a mechanized guy. And about 3/4 of the way through basic training, they grabbed me, a good friend of mine, which I can't tell you his name because he's still in with group,
Nice.
and about 5 or 6 other dudes. And they were like, hey, anybody interested in being an airborne dude or being a ranger? Well, so me and my buddy were like, well, that sounds pretty badass. Let's go do that. And I kind of on the periphery knew what they were. A couple of my mom's friends were Vietnam SF guys and stuff like that. So I kind of knew, but I didn't really understand. So I was like, yep, cool. That sounds great. So me and him, they took us the next day. We went to a special operations medical processing center and we took an additional physical and an additional medical process and graduated basic training, went to airborne school, and then went to, at the time, it was called RIP. It was before
Yeah.
RASP, so
Yeah.
Ranger and Doc. And that was it. Just got lucky. Like I was doing good in basic training, was very fit, wasn't too stupid, and they plucked me and a couple other guys, and we got to go try out. I made it, he made it, a couple guys didn't. And then I think everybody, God, that class in RIP was pretty small, but I went through some really good dudes. And but even with everybody that was in there were pretty hard guys. Like a lot of them didn't make it the first year. You just get cycled, you get washed out.
Well, people don't realize that. Like I tell Mike, so I'm a drill sergeant here, and we always send kids to RASP. I'm like, you understand? Like RASP is gonna be worse than anything else you're gonna do.
Buddy fucker is what you
Yeah.
are.
100%. I'm like, RASP is gonna be bad. Or RASP, they want you to quit. Like it's gonna be worse than Ranger School.
Yeah.
It's gonna be worse than anything else. Like they are going to torture you because they want you to quit. And the kid, I'm like, I'll be good drill sergeant. I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah, and it wasn't that. Of course, you can always look back and say, oh, it wasn't that bad for me. I'm a total hard ass. But as long as you just don't mentally give up, and that's all they're really looking for. Unless you're just a complete soup sandwich fucking moron, as long as you just don't mentally quit and you're still doing the work, you're going to be good. There's minimum standards, but and I know people that are still in, people that were sergeant majors in BAT now. dudes that are with CAG now, and it's the same thing. Like it's an elevation at every level, and you have to be smart, and you have to be smarter at the next level, smarter at the next level, more knowledgeable. But as long as you don't mentally quit and physically don't break, you're gonna be okay. But most people, the mind stuff is what gets them.
Yeah.
That's
No,
really what gets most people.
for sure. So talking about that, I actually want to caveat that back to YouTube. You said 5 years ago you started your YouTube channel, and that was kind of the hype. You were kind of at the end of the golden era of YouTube for gun tubers, and the whole like all the rules came in. So like what struggles have you seen since then?
Yeah, and it might have been 2018. Might be coming on 6 years.
Okay. Okay.
Because I reserved the channel and then I sat on my butt for a while and tried to figure it out. Honestly, it was one, reading the rules. Like it amazes me that people are like, oh no, I've never read the terms and conditions. I'm like, yeah, that's probably a good place to start, bro. Do you sign like car loans without reading them too? But then I also became like friends, after a while, because everybody's kind of waiting to see if you're a complete idiot or not. And then some people start talking to you, and then you start learning more, and you start bouncing ideas off each other. But yeah, so I had never really watched gun tubers or YouTube or stuff like that before. I mean, I watched YouTube for certain things. It was like, hey, what's my torque spec for the head on my 350 Chevy? That's the kind of stuff I was going to YouTube for, right? Couldn't remember torque specs or something.
Yeah.
And once you kind of figure out the rules, you just have to put it upon yourself to not like try to break them, because it's easy to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing or put the wrong thing in a video. And it's tough because it's always changing and evolving. So you kind of got to think forward too of what people are doing, because I've had to take down millions of views in videos over the past 5.5 years or whatever, because of rule changes, because you just can't clip enough of the video out. And a lot of it was due to following rules very strictly and somewhat more strict than other people were doing. And then also bouncing a lot of ideas off of people in the industry that are bigger and smarter than me to try and game plan things and figure out like, hey, this is what we think is coming, or this is what we think is next. And you kind of try to pre-plan your content for that. Otherwise, you're going to get screwed. Like imagine all the dudes out there right now that have to go through and try to edit out full auto stuff, or screwing their can on or something like that, because and some do it and some don't. But if you get that first strike and then you get the second strike, you get the third strike all within 30 minutes of each other, you're just gone.
You're done.
There's no coming back from that, right? But it's a constant struggle, and you have to stay up to date with the terms of service and the ad regulations, right? Because they're two separate things. You got terms of service in your YouTube partner program, and the partner program is obviously at a higher level of restriction because it has to do with revenue. I'll give you like a quick math. If you average like, I want to say if you average in the first 30 days 100,000 views per video, and you're uploading one video per week, averaging those views without any backlog of videos, you're going to make about 400, $500.
Oof.
And then once you start to build a catalog, that's when you start to see a little bit more. But a channel that's getting million to 1.5 million views a month, that's consistently releasing new content, you might see 1,500, $2,000 a month, depending on your views per video. But if you're averaging more than 50,000, you'll be right around there. If you're like gun channel. So other channels like travel vlogs and stuff, double that. Yeah, you're gonna make way more because you're not restricted.
And then you're not even counting the fact of when you drop a video and 48 hours into it, you get the email that this video is demonetized, and now you have to appeal it, and nothing's counting, and it takes a while. And then once, if they agree with you and say, all right, cool, yeah, we'll reinstate this, it's you're fighting for lost revenue at that point.
Yeah, 100%. And then your cost of doing a video, like how far away is the range? How much gear are you taking? How much of that gear did you buy that wasn't sponsored or sent for use, borrow, whatever? Ammo. I mean, some of the ammo we shoot, I mean, you're spending a Happy Meal every time you pull the trigger, right? And then it's, just all the ongoing stuff, cameras and all that. So I don't think people understand like the cost of running like a YouTube channel sometimes too. And you can do it on the cheap. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's people that do, but you buy your first, $6,000 mirrorless camera, and then you realize you need two of them, and then you realize you need a slow motion camera. My buddy just bought a $20,000 slow motion camera. I'm like, I'll borrow it, but I ain't buying one of those.
Yeah. I got a buddy with a high speed, and I'm like, damn, I'll
Yeah,
borrow.
I mean, they catch sick video, but there's just a lot of cost in it too. And you're going to take,
Yeah.
most channels aren't profitable right away. You take a loss for a while, and then you break even, and you start making a little money. The key is to just, try not to change when the money comes, right?
People ask us like, oh, hey, how are you guys doing this? How does this work? What are you guys doing? And all three of us collectively just say, hey man, it's real easy to say, I'm going to start a GunTube channel. I'm going to start a reviews channel. And I don't even want to say review. Like, I'm just going to be in the 2A environment and I'm going to make a channel about it. And we're like, well, wait a minute, back up. Like, what are you? Are you a podcast? Are you a review channel? Are you a political venue? Are you you have to define like, what is your audience? Because it's just like any other business. Before you create the first product, you have to target your audience. Like, who are you going after, and then make the product for them. So we tell people, man, you got to figure out who you are and what you're trying to do and who you're trying to bring that to. But looking back over all of your experience, if there was one thing that now that you would like to share with someone just starting YouTube in today's society or social media in general, what would that one piece of advice be that you wish you would have known if you started one today?
Yeah, that's a tough one because there's so many mistakes that I've made.
A lot.
For sure.
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is, and it's kind of like you said, you have to have a priority. And that priority has to be the direction you want to go with your channel. Whether you choose to be a gun channel or whether you want to make real money, be a rage bait 2A news channel. Some of those guys are my brothers, man, but do they get the views? All that rage bait over. I stay out of politics. I don't want anything to do with talking about politics and stuff like that for the most part. But you have to choose your path. And if you don't know what that's going to be, you're going to bounce all over and you're not going to capture an audience because you're going to be so split. I did that right away. So I knew, I was like, I want to have fun doing the things I like to do. And I know a lot of people are going to like that, and I'll expand eventually. I'm like, but right now I know there's a lot of other dudes out there that like exactly the same thing as me. And that's what I'm doing as guns. So
we realized real quick, you have to treat this, every video is a game plan. Before you even load the first bullet in the mag, before you even pack your range bag, it's, what am I doing on the range today? And what am I trying to accomplish? And do you feel the same way? As it's like a lot of people like to start out just posting every day, but it's actually quantity is a good thing, but quality is much more important than quality. You're better off posting once a week, something that is quality and you're proud of, rather than 5 middle of the road videos.
yeah, I'm 100%. And I did the same thing where I was making like 2 and 3 videos a week for like over a year.
It's so taxing.
Right. And you do grow, right? Because you're throwing more stuff out there. But if you start to just make, better videos or more concise videos, your audience is gonna like it better, and you're not gonna burn them out with just stupidity, right? Because posting for the sake of posting, like when I have like a project that I'm working on, one, I try to see how many things I can bundle into one video, right? Like I want the whole thing in there, the whole build. I don't want to do like this part anymore because those just don't do well. So you want to talk about the whole build, the kit, whatever, and then I have a bullet pointed script. I have the title figured out. I have the thumbnail figured out. Like I go through this laundry list. I have a shot list on the range, so I know like I have to be here at this angle, at this place, and these are all things that I figured out by watching like production studio people.
Yeah.
Because you can film videos and make it look like you have a camera guy without having a camera guy.
Right.
It's difficult, right? And it takes some editing, but you can do it. And there's guys out there that are doing really good at that. But yeah, if you don't treat that like a little project on its own and you just try to, I'm going to do this, and you don't have like a pathway, it's going to show. Like you're just going to lose track.
So Mike, I have to ask you, you talked about a camera person, because I know I had that struggle. Like I go film content and I'm trying to film myself. So I want to give you a compliment too, because your shorts are great on YouTube. I watch them, I study them, because like I want to do what you do, because I love what you do for shorts. Do you have a camera person sometimes, or is it just you setting a tripod up, filming yourself typically when you go to the range?
So on my channel, there are a couple of videos, maybe like 3 or 4, that I've had like camera dude, like a camera person there with me. Sometimes I've had a friend just like pushing the button, like pressing the focus point. But as far as like as an actual person like moving with me filming, the Iron Infidel channel, like almost all the videos have a dedicated camera guy. But the ones on my channel that you see where it looks like there's a camera guy, that's just me doing editing and adding motion blurs and different editing techniques and screen movement and then staging your shot, because it's like, so take like an action scene in a movie in Hollywood. That's like not one sequence. That's like 5,000 sequences.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to stand here. You're going to take 2 steps, fire 2 rounds, and then we're going to move the camera over here. You're going to turn, do this. That's how they do that. And good camera people can see that and they'll go, oh, here, 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 here. So I write that stuff down, and that's where I position. I might have 2 cameras at the same time running too, so I can capture both angles at once. So I know I'm going to run from here, and then I'm going to stage here. That camera's going to autofocus, and I'm going to shoot and do this. And then you just splice those 2 things together, add in some motion blur and add in camera movement, like shake, and slow it down, and then zoom in, zoom out, do some things, and it's going to look like you had a camera guy. It just makes the scene look better. Like movement just makes it look better. And here's the other thing too, is like people have, accused me of speeding up like shooting footage. Like, bro, I've been on the shot timer a lot. Like there's videos of me running build drills like sub 6 seconds clean. But there's other people that get accused of it, and I know they're not speeding it up, but the way your camera guy moves his camera,
Yeah.
it looks like it shaves a second off the shot. But then when you can see the timer. So camera movement will make it appear that you're faster than you really are too. Because I had a dude film with me the first time. We were just having fun. I'm like, well, that was pretty fast. And it was the same time that I'd run on the same drill, but it just looked better because he went from draw to scene and it was over my shoulder and moving. So it looked like it was super fast, but it was like no faster than any other run. But if it's static on a tripod, it's like it makes it look slower, the same as the camera makes you gain 10 pounds and sucks 20% of your personality, right? So it's the same kind of thing with speed.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys use that to their advantage, where you're moving around and the camera's whipping around. It looks fast, man. But when you're doing it, you're like, oh, God, that was slow. Like, oh, man.
Magic of Hollywood.
But so I appreciate that, because also the one thing, Mike, about you is you also don't show your best stuff. If you have a bad round, you don't just show the best of everything you do. You show a little bit of everything you do. I mean, and obviously you're a good shooter. There's a video on YouTube that can prove that. We won't talk about that. But honestly, like you do, you show everything you do for the full spectrum. And I appreciate that, because some people will only shoot their best stuff and show you their best build drill, and you kind of show everything.
Yeah, I show even on the other channel, the Iron Infidel channel, all the time making fun of myself, like flubbing reloads and stuff, because like there's anybody out there that tell you, oh, I've never missed a reload. Dude, you're just a liar. Like JJ Rakaza misses reloads, man.
Yeah.
And that dude's like amazing. I've seen that guy in person do mag. He did a tactical exchange, right? So grab mag, drop, insert, and replace a mag faster than I can do an empty gun reload. And he didn't even drop the mag. I was like, did you just do that again? It was the craziest thing I've ever seen, because it was so fast. I'm like, dude, I can't even do an empty gun reload that fast. But those dudes, they screw it all the time. That's like people are like, oh, you got a pre-ignition push or a sympathetic reflex. I'm like, dude, put a dummy around, and most competitors' pistols, when they're running the range, they will dig a hole to Indochina. They're going to drive so hard. Now, am I saying you should have this massive, recoil impulse or sympathetic reflex? No, but if you have a little, if you're driving that gun, it's going to happen. And some people get all freaked out about that. It's like, well, it also depends on the distance to your target, right? There's videos of me shooting, 4.25-inch 2011s at 150 plus yards. People have seen me do one-handed shots at 100 plus yards, obviously with an optic. But I've done that with 3.25-inch Wilson combat pistols and stuff. you slow down and take your time when you need to, and you go fast when you can. It's like that's the same as, people that can't figure out that difference between I'm on the flat range and, oh man, you didn't do this, this, and this. It's like I'm not focusing on that right now. I'm
Right.
doing
Yeah.
this. Some people get all wrapped up in those little things. It's like, no, I can mentally separate what I'm doing right here from the next thing I'm going to do or the next evolution of training or something. And there's a lot of guys that, all those sayings, the different things out there, you're going to, resort to your last highest level of training, or you're going to fail down, and all these different things. It's like, well, yeah, that is true if you have a very low level of training, but there is a point where, going in, like I was doing something at Haley Strategic, and he puts you on the golf camp, that big cage that they use for golfers to measure their swings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see every single motion you made when you drew your pistol. Was I lifting this shoulder? Did I dip forward? Did I do this? Did I crank around? And the whole focus of that is they didn't even want you to draw your pistol. He just wanted you to put your hand on it, see what your body was doing. Because if you can clean all of those motions up, you may just be an eighth of a second faster, but that's a lot of speed.
You're cutting time.
So what is your plan at Goals? What are you doing? What are you doing for the Goals Summit?
Yeah, so I'm up on the 2A panel, obviously being a 2A guy. I believe it's the veterans and LEO one.
Awesome.
So it's kind of like the gun con thing that we just went to. GOA is a very good organization that's actually out there doing the work that most people don't want to do, fighting the lawsuits, fighting the good fight.
Yep.
Between them and FPC and all these other entities they're doing all the heavy lifting, and they're getting some good wins. We're having some really good wins, and I just wish that we could prod Clarence just a little bit more and be like, please rule this unconstitutional, please.
He's
Please,
trying.
Clarence.
He's doing it. He's doing his thing though.
Yeah. So this event, it's the first one they've had, and I'm hoping it goes really well. But I think it's free to GOA members, and it's only like $25 if you're not.
Yeah,
which is pretty awesome. But it's one of those things where people are always, bitching and complaining about this or that law or this and that. But then when it's times to come up out the pocket with $5, oh, no, okay. Skip Starbucks for a little bit,
right,
and donate to one of these entities, whichever one it is, anything besides the NRA.
GOA's $25 a year. Like, if you can't come out of pocket $25 a year, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, and most people don't understand how much litigation costs, right? Like, your government gets to use your tax money to the ends of the ocean, the bottomless pit that is your tax dollar, against you to take your own rights away. Like, think about that. And then
they'll turn on the printing machines if they run out of money to make more.
So in order to fight that machine, fight that machine, you need millions of dollars. It's unfortunate. I mean, they shouldn't be able to. There should be like a cap or something. Yeah, the GOA thing is going to be cool. I'm hoping that it goes well, and I'm hoping that it grows a lot, because the only reason that we've had all these wins is because good people have donated time, money, and got this information out there so that we can start to peel back a lot of these just stupid laws, right? Like,
yes,
absolutely stupid, made by people who are complete idiots.
I have no idea.
I don't want to get into politics, but people that don't have an idea even what a bullet looks like, what a shell casing is, what a heat guard is. I mean, these people may be smart in something, but they are complete idiots when it comes to most things that involve the Second Amendment.
Well, the good news is, we had John on from GOA State of the Second, talked with Eric Pratt a little bit on the side. The good news is that the summit has already done so well that they have already booked next year's out. There's been enough committals that it's warranted that there will be another one next year. I'm pretty sure it's the same place as what they said, but they really liked. I know it kind of sucks for all the West Coast guys, but they really liked going East Coast, just because up until NRA was always been in Dallas, but they just announced they're going to go Atlanta next year. Yep. But everything has been West Coast, which is fine, but they wanted to say, hey, let's bring an East Coast thing to it, and that way it divides everything up.
They're going to go to Atlanta. I couldn't think of a worse city to have a convention in.
But who cares? Let's just stop worrying about NRA and let's worry about GOA. I think that's
for sure. Yeah. But what we liked was that the reception has been so great. I mean, you're going, Clint Morgan's going. We're seeing people every day sign on, and
we're going.
We're nobodies, Adam.
We're D-listers.
But the thing that I like is that I still say, even with a lot of big names, including GOA being the biggest name, it's still crazy enough. It's still one of the most unheard of shows around right now, and it's not that far out. And when you talk to people, and we even have guests on the show, and we're like, "Hey, are you going to GOA?" And they're like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "All right, we'll cut that part out, but I'm going to send you all the info because you should be there. But if you're not getting a booth and not doing that stuff, you at least need to know about this because you need to kick yourself in the ass the week after GOA is over to say, why didn't I go to this?" What are you, I know you're doing the panel, but what are you most excited for about the whole idea of GOA's summit in Knoxville?
Honestly, it's going to be seeing everybody because, like you said, we don't get together often, and a lot of the times we do is very short. You get like a couple days at some event or something like that. So that's always cool. But there's also a lot of good ideas that come out of that from a lot of the big names out there in YouTube. A lot of which do a lot of very good work notifying people of what's going on. Mr. Guns and Gear, Mike over there, Jared from Guns and Gadgets, all those guys. When you get to hang out with those guys, and every Arm Scholar too, love talking to Anthony, amazing guy, right? Like all of these amazing people that are 100% vested in trying to ensure people get to retain their rights. And you get to hang out with these people and kind of strategize about what they're talking about, what you're going to talk about, where they're going with their channel, all these things. And they're just good people. And that's the thing. Like, it was John Patton from the Gun Collective. One of the first things when I met him, I ever told him, or he ever told me was, hey man, everything in this industry is a handshake, never violate it. I'm like, okay, that's kind of what I live by, right? Your word's your word. But it's very true. Like there's things with companies that I've seen done, huge deals. There's no paperwork. It's just a handshake. And there's like tens of thousands of dollars getting product moved, for certain things. Or, hey, I need to be there next week. And once you build that, reputation, or once you build that trust, it's pretty much always there, right? Now, obviously, that doesn't involve like firearms, right? You can't do that stuff. Right? They've still got to follow laws. But that's always the best part for me is I just like hanging out with everybody and then meeting like some of the newer people that are getting into it and doing things because, eventually everybody's going to fizzle out. There's going to be like that next kind of generation that's going to come in, and you're just kind of hoping that they're going to have the same values because there's gun channels out there, dudes that are 2A channels or whatever that believe in some forms of gun restrictions and things like that too. When they get painted in a corner, they're like, oh no, I don't agree with this. Look at Tim Kennedy. That guy can't keep his foot out of his own mouth talking about taking people's guns away.
But he wants them all, man. He'll take every one that you give him. But
which is funny, that last interview he did with, where he basically within 2 minutes had said, oh no, I'm cool with gun control. And then he's like, oh no, not gun control. No, we can't have any of that. I'm like, you just said that you were okay with that.
Tim is just trying to, I'm not defending him, but I think Tim is just trying to make sure that he pleases all the people that are giving him paychecks.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. He's well paid.
Yeah. I mean, not defending him. Yeah. Good for him.
Get that money, I guess. But people ask me about what I think laws are going to be. I'm like, I don't know. Can I go buy a tank at the corner store? Like, because I still remember when machine guns were legal. I was very, very young, but I remember my dad had the opportunity when they were just, you're talking like 1985, 1986, and they were blowing them out. They didn't want them, and they couldn't sell them. Nobody wanted them. Nobody cared. It wasn't until you made it illegal all of a sudden it became a big deal.
For $200.
Yeah, my dad had the chance to buy thousands and thousands of dollars worth of full auto stuff, hundreds and hundreds of guns, and he was like, nah, I'm not interested in that crap. Nobody wants that stuff. Now it's
now
like,
they're 20, 30 grand a piece.
Yeah, you'd be retired.
If you were strategic and Back to the Future, like you were strategic and just bought 10 of them, Like
Done.
depending on the 10 you bought, like
You're
you're
retired.
not doing anything the rest of your life if you sold them today.
Yeah. I got to say the most exciting thing about GOA to me, again, there's going to be lots of new faces, lots of hands to shake, but I really love that GOA went above and beyond to fight the venue and make sure that everybody could conceal carry at this event. And I think it's going to be a really good opportunity for our community to come together and be like, look, we can come to a gun event, everybody can carry a weapon, and there can be no issue. And I'm pretty excited about that. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's venues are hard for that stuff, man, because 9 times out of 10, it's the insurance company telling the venue you're not covered for anything. So if something happened, they get sued, they're done, right?
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate that you could be sued out of existence for something that somebody else did, but that's how it works. So,
World we live in.
Yeah, and that's, I've been to venues before, obviously, where you can't carry in there or whatever. And it sucks. Trust me, I don't want to go anywhere armed, but I get it because I've seen the back end of the legislation, right? Or the back end of the litigation, I mean. But it's cool that they did that for sure. I'm always pro that, right? Pro carry.
Heck yeah. So, Mike, before we get out of here, man, we're almost out of time. I want you to close it out and tell us where they can find you. And obviously people know, but before that, there's one question we ask everyone. You have to answer, man. So you can have 5 guns the rest of your life. What are those 5 guns? Go.
Well, an MG 134 with a lot of belt to go with it.
Hell yeah.
You got to have a Barrett 50 for that distance poke. Then you need your up close work. So you need probably a 14.5 AR because you can build that to go 600 and in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You need a good sidearm. That's the tough one. I just say a pistol, or do I got to pick a brand?
No.
Make it model. Don't say good sidearm. Make it model. What do you choose?
You know what I've just been loving and running so hard is that new Shadow XR920P, the flush comped one.
Uh-huh.
Dude, in fact, it was in the video I just put up on Iron Intel today. That thing, I haven't cleaned it in about 3,000 rounds on purpose.
Everything a Glock should be.
I don't recommend not cleaning your pistols. I'm doing this sheerly for testing purposes, but I want to see how many rounds I can get through a comped pistol without cleaning or lubrication or anything.
Okay.
And it's just been a champ. I love that thing.
Hell yeah. All right, you got one more?
You got one.
Are you killing ducks or deer? What's going on?
Yeah, you want a shotty? You want a bolty? What do you want here? Or do you want another of something you already have?
Mike hates shotguns. I'm calling it right now.
No, actually I don't. I was just thinking, do I want an over-under or do I want a semi-auto? So I would choose either a Beretta 1301 or Benelli M4 or a clone of one of the ones that's like worth it.
Yeah. Yes. Awesome.
And that, you're just covered pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's probably one of the best 5 choices. Better than Clint Morgan, because Clint Morgan went back and forth when we asked him, and he was trying to cover all bases, and he forgot about a shotgun.
Anybody off? He was
had a hard time. Yeah.
I shit on Q last time, so I got to say the Honey Badger this time, and I messed this up. He was being swept.
He was. But Mike, we appreciate you, man. Before we get out of here today, we are out of time. Tell people where they can find you on all venues.
Yeah, man. So Instagram is Tactical Considerations, YouTube Tactical Considerations, Twitter is TacCons, and then my website tacticalconsiderations.com. That's the website where all the videos are actually housed. Each video gets its own page with all the links to all the parts and everything. So if you're looking to figure out where to buy or get the best deal, plus all the coupon codes and all the discounts and all that stuff is there too.
Each weapon has its own page.
Each video has its own page.
Do you build your own website too?
Yeah.
Bro, that's a deep website, man. That is a
deep
website.
Mike, we on behalf of Mike and Matt, we want to thank you for coming on today. And dude, we appreciate you, bro. And until GOA, we'll see you then, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Looking forward to it.
All All right, everybody, what a great show. We want to thank Mike Mills from Tactical Considerations for taking the time to stop by our humble podcast, sit down, and talk with us. I think it was a really great show, real down-to-earth guy, and we definitely appreciate his time on Whiskey and Windage. Mike, Adam, what do you guys think? How'd it go?
Man, I thought it went well. Mike's a good dude, genuine, good intent, and he honestly seems like he's one of those guys in the 2A space that, you know, if you had a question or a concern, and you reached out and you built up trust with him, he's one of those guys that's like, yeah, man, I would be glad to, you know, give you some pointers or some tips. It looks like he's there to help everybody else in this space if needed.
No, 100%. I agree with that. And Mike's a good dude. Mike and I talked for probably 2 months trying to get this podcast together. And it wasn't because he was too cool or blew us off. He's a busy guy. He has a full-time job. He's running his own YouTube channel pretty much by himself, which we found out, and then doing Iron Infidel. And then also, you know, being a family man. So like we found time. He's a good dude. Kudos to him. Can't wait to meet him in GOA.
Sure. Well, everybody who's listening in, we want to thank you for listening this far. Remind you that we're going to be back here next Wednesday with another great episode from Whiskey and Windage. And it just wouldn't really be a Whiskey and Windage episode unless Adam took us out.
Hey, man, I got you guys. Guys, like I always say, stay dangerous, carry a weapon. We'll talk to you soon.